Good morning, everyone. Sam here at Sober Souls.
Hey guys, good morning. Caleb here at Sober Souls. Hope y'all are doing well today.
Glad to have you back, Caleb. It's been a while.
Thanks, man. Been busy being a single dad. Good
Yeah.
to be back, Sam. Thank you.
Yeah. We missed you.
Yeah, we've been missing you guys too. The life and times of a single dad, man. I tell you, it's anything and everything does happen. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But anyways, we're coming at you live from Seattle, Washington. Today is Saturday, June 6th. It's in the 60s outside. The sun's coming out. It's an absolutely beautiful day here in Pacific Northwest. We got Nolan behind the scenes.
Nolan, put your hand out and say hi.
Go in. Yep.
Nolan's taking over for Andrew today. Andrew, it's his birthday today, so everyone wish him a happy birthday. We're letting him sleep in. He's just in my room right now on the couch, mouth wide open and all. He was up till like probably 5 a.m. last night playing NCAA.
Well, it's his birthday, so we got the Mariner game on in the background, guys.
Yeah.
Go Mariners.
Go Mariners. It's 4-0, top of the fourth.
Yep.
Mariners are up. Got 2 outs, running around first.
Yeah, we're showing Detroit how to play ball today.
Yeah, last night they showed us.
Yeah, they did.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today we're talking about character defects.
Yep.
And how they impact us in how they impacted us in our sobriety and how they impacted us in our peak addiction. So if you want to start us off.
I mean, we just go down the list. I mean, there's a character defect from A to Z, just about, and there's hundreds, probably thousands of character defects.
Yeah.
That we could talk about. I know starting with A, like for me, is anger.
Yeah, anger is something that I struggle with too.
Anger is something that what's the opposite of anger? Happy, joyous, and free, which is what we're supposed to be in the program. So I know along with like the angry thing, that word halt, HALT, I've learned not to get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired.
Yeah.
And I get angry sometimes pretty quick. I've got a short fuse at times. I've got a 10-year-old daughter, and she knows how to push all my buttons and make dad just explode. And then I explode and I yell and I feel bad and she cries, and then it's like a vicious cycle. But anger is something that I've dealt with from, I think most human beings have dealt with anger from a young, from a young child all the way through adolescence and into adulthood. I know that I've been really, really angry, angry enough at times to hit somebody or, wish that I could hit myself sometimes.
Or wish I could just punch through someone's face and have them cease to exist.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Like Omni-Man.
Yeah. So it's, anger, God doesn't want us to be angry. He wants us to be, carefree and happy. Maybe not carefree, but definitely happy.
Yeah.
But I don't think that my higher power wants me to spend a lot of time in anger, right? I can recognize when I'm getting frustrated. And, one thing that I do is try to take 10 to 15 to 20 deep breaths, right? And just focus on my breathing and, give the anger less power, right?
No.
Don't let yourself go full bore into it and get to the point, like Sam said, where you're ready to smack somebody.
No.
See it coming, acknowledge it, right? Be aware that you're getting frustrated with something and take the necessary steps to defuse the situation, defuse the situation and not let it completely take over and take control to where it's guiding your decisions and your choices and what you do.
Yeah.
One of the biggest resentments the drug addicts, or one of the biggest things about drug addicts is resentment.
Well, that's also where anger comes from. It's resentment.
Anger, resentment. Fuck you, I'll show you, and then we go get drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's something that was really hard for me, especially being a redhead. Because us redheads are very fiery. They got a very short fuse, and once we're angry, we're fucking furious.
Yeah, when I get to the point where everything goes red, I just have to walk away. There's been several times, like that in my life when, it's better to just walk away than to
end up killing someone.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something that we all deal with. Something else that I do is try to avert my mind to something else, listen to, put a CD in and listen to a song, or pick up my guitar, or call a friend, or read a book, or do sketching. So we have to come up with all these things that we can do, instead of drinking and drugging. And that's the whole point of Sober Souls, is to show you guys how much fun you can actually have in sobriety. And like, last night we were all here together, guys hanging out on Friday night. We're all stone cold sober, right? All four of us are sober, been that way for a while.
I thought you were about to say we're all stoned.
Oh,
I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
no, we're all stone cold sober last night on a Friday night. Four guys hanging out. I mean, that's pretty rare nowadays. Usually somebody's at least sipping on something or smoking on something or whatever. But we had a great time. Sam cooked it up. I had brought over some hamburger meat. They had some leftover meat, so we put it all together and got it seasoned really good. And we cooked bacon and onion, and we had smashed burgers, and it was really good. And I took a burger home to my kid, and she loved that because she loves cheeseburgers. But just something as simple as hanging out like last night, watching the Mariners game, eating good food, something we do in sobriety, because not drinking and drugging, we can afford good food. So
You need to take that?
yeah, you take that.
Then go ahead and I'll just step in right now. If you go out there. So anger is something that I really struggled with as a character defect, because I had a lot of resentment growing up towards, like my father or people who had done me wrong. And so I would just sit and ruminate and fixate. And, something that I've learned through going through years and years of treatment and counseling is to sit there and pause. Now, there is a skill called the pause skill. I forget exactly what the whole pause acronym stands for, but I can always look it up and share that with you guys. But that is something for me. And actually having a moment to take a deep breath and do some box breathing or somatic meditations, or there's a thing called a TIPS skill, which is temperature immersion and pressure, I think is what it stands for, because it's if you're able to go outside and say, like, change the temperature of what your environment is, it changes up your brain chemistry. So it's able to get you out of that mindset, or like putting your face into a bowl of ice cold water, or putting an ice pack on your head, something that like actually changes the temperature in the environment that you're in, because that changes the brain chemistry. But anger, like I was saying, anger is something for me that I really struggled with. Having a short fuse. Like as a kid, I would punch holes in the wall. When I'm upset and angry, and it's something for me also is having my traumatic brain injury, my TBI, with my frontal lobe. I have damage. I had a really hard time regulating my emotions when I was younger, and that's something that I had to deeply overcome, because I have a shorter fuse than the average person because of my emotion regulatory issues with my TBI. So that's something for me. It's pausing and actually taking a deep breath can be the difference between me being calm and me going to prison.
Yeah. To add to that, one of the best things you can do when you're angry is get some exercise,
Boxing,
right? Even if it's just going for a walk, putting on a comfortable pair of shoes, and maybe leave your phone behind, and go for a walk, right? That always de-stresses me.
Now 5 minutes, no screen time.
Yeah.
Just you and yourself.
Yeah. Or, go to the gym, lift some weights, get on the treadmill, get on a stationary bike. I go to the gym 3 days a week and do the stationary bike for an hour. And I do it early in the morning. So I'm usually not angry or mad at anybody, but if I do become angry, I can go shoot hoops, or Sam and I get together and throw the baseball or go to the batting cages or whatever. And, a lot of times doing something physical can avert your mind from being angry. I know I took out a lot of anger on the other teams on Friday nights, back in the 90s playing football, growing up in Texas, and high school football was a big deal down there. And I just always used to, picture somebody that I hated and, try to knock the shit out of them and get the ball and score a touchdown. There's nothing like scoring a touchdown in front of thousands and thousands of people. That's a rush. So growing up, I'd be mad at mom or dad or one of my siblings or whatever. And I would save all of that anger for Friday night, and I had 60 minutes to get it out of my system.
Yeah. And I was just talking about the pause skill. It's actually called the stop skill. I just looked it up, guys. It's a DBT skill. It's the S stands for stop, and question is to ask yourself, like, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And then T is take a step back. O was observe, and then P is to proceed mindful. Mindfulness is something that you really have to take into account, especially with anger or any other character defects like resentment or ego or pride or any of that, because you have to stop and think like, okay, why am I acting this way? Why am I feeling this way? And actually something that's big in sobriety is sitting there and feeling your emotions and asking them why they're there. So that way you don't act on those emotions, but you change your perspective from what you're actually feeling to understanding why you're feeling that way so you can adapt mindfully into the situation.
Yeah, I usually dismiss the first or the second thought that comes. Whenever a problem arises, I've talked about this before. I'm a drug addict and an alcoholic. I'm always going to be a drug addict and an alcoholic. Um, and just because I'm not drinking or drugging doesn't make me any less than what I am. And so, being a drug addict, being an alcoholic, I know damn sure that my first reaction or response is going to be that of an alcoholic or a drug addict.
Yeah, it's fuck this.
Basically it's fuck this, like Sam just said, and so trying to calm down in that moment, right? And then, like Sam said, trying to figure out why you're upset and let yourself actually feel it. And, a lot of the anger that I used to have, I would suppress with drinking or drugging. Um, and
So-
once you're not drinking or drugging, you got to be able to vent in other ways. This is 2026. You can't just knock everybody out, right?
I mean, you can, but then you end up in prison.
You can't just, things have really changed, and, I just turned 44 last week or 2 weeks ago. And, life is definitely way different now than it was 20, 30 years ago when I was growing up and going to high school. If two guys had a problem, they fought it out, and we're usually friends within a couple of weeks after that, but there were a lot of stupid fights that I got in because I was drunk or high on cocaine. So there's a lot of unneeded stress or a lot of unneeded tension, that I didn't need to go through, but I went through anyway.
Yeah, that reminds me of I slapped the fuck out of Andrew because he broke my crack pipe. And I was so mad. It's kind of like what you're saying, but
Yeah, but not taking it out on another human being.
yeah,
Um, if you're mad or angry or whatever, you need to look at why you're angry, and it's usually because it's something that you can relate to.
yeah,
And that, we're talking about character defects. Another one that comes up, for me, um, is laziness.
yeah.
There's days that I'm going all day long full bore, and then there's other days that I just don't have the energy. And, I have to make myself get up and make the coffee and get my kid off to school and fed and hairbrushed and teeth and all that kind of stuff. There's days that I don't want to do what I want to do. And I get angry about something stupid, but I don't stay in that anger for very long. I try to turn it over, figure out why I'm upset, and then to let it go, right? Like putting a note on a leaf, somebody's name that you're trying to get over. You put that note on a leaf and you let it go down the stream. Anyways,
But it also brings in compartmentalizing.
it's a visualize of letting something go.
Yeah, it's like Bruce Lee said, "Be like water."
Yeah, be like the water. Yeah, and just let it flow. And like Sam was talking about
Compartmentalizing.
compartmentalizing. I can't say that word.
Yeah.
From the South.
I can explain that compartmentalizing is a skill for people like who especially have trauma. And it also deals with like resentment, rumination, and anger, and lust, greed, everything like that, all different kinds of character defects. So basically, it's like whatever is troubling you, it's the way to compartmentalize it is to visualize there being a box, and you visualizing putting all of that energy that you are feeling at that moment, putting it in the box, putting the lid on, locking it, and storing it away, compartmentalizing it with everything else that's going on in your mind. It's saying, for now, I'm going to put this away and I will come back to it later when I'm ready to actually deal with it versus actually negatively dealing with things in the heat of the moment, just letting your emotions run you instead of you running your emotions.
Yeah. And you don't want to let that stuff completely take over because it will, and then it'll dominate your life if you let it. Fear is another one. Being fearful, being afraid, right? What am I afraid of? Fear of abandonment, fear of being homeless. That's been a big one for me in my life is because I've been homeless a couple times in sobriety in the past 15 and a half, 15 years. So that's a real fear. And the way to not fear that is to pay your rent on time, and then you don't have to worry about that. So you can cross that fear off of the list, right? Because we're going down a list of things that we're afraid of. And so if I pay my rent, I don't have to worry about a place to live.
Yeah, imprisonment.
If I pay my phone bill, then I can call who I need to, or they can call me. But if I don't pay my phone bill and my phone gets shut off, then there's the fear of, what if something happens and I'm in an accident or I have a blowout on one of my tires and I can't call somebody. Well, then you're in that situation. You got a blown tire because the tread life was low. It's not difficult to look at the tread life on a tire and think, my tread's low. I need to get new tires. But if I don't address the problem with the tire, then I can be stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire, no spare, no tools, and no phone to call anybody to come help. So then I'm left hitchhiking or walking from wherever that is, to where if I would have put a new set of tires on my car when it needed it, then I wouldn't have had a blowout. And if I pay my cell phone bill, I'm able to call somebody in an emergency. But if I don't do those things, it's nobody's fault that I'm in the situation that I'm in. Perfect example. I was hanging out yesterday at a place and this girl came in and she was exhausted. She had just walked like 6 or 7 miles. Somebody stole her Honda Accord.
Yeah.
What are you doing driving a Honda Accord? That's like the highest theft
vehicle Kias
in America. Yeah. Kias now because of the Kia boys. Yes. But Hondas for generations, Hondas have been very sought after because they're easy to break into and they're easy to hotwire. Well, I asked her, I said, did you lock your doors? Well, I don't remember. I said, well, where are your keys? And she said, well, they were in my purse. And I said, well, where's your purse? And she said, well, it was in the car that got stolen. I said, so you left your keys in your purse, in your car, with your phone while you went to walk your dog. But I love dogs, okay? I don't have anything against, people with dogs. I think you should have a yard if you have a dog, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't have a yard, so I don't have a dog. But these people and their dogs in the Pacific Northwest, it's insane, and so, this girl went for a walk, didn't take preventative action, ended up everything she's got is stolen. She had to walk 6, 7 miles to get to where I was at. Then I gave her a ride home and said, if you find your phone, you give me a call. Her plan of action, I love this. This girl had balls. Her plan of action was to go home and get her watch, her Apple Watch, and that would let her know the location of the phone, which would let her know the location of the car. So this girl's all pumped up. She's got her little pit bull with her, and she's going to go get her car back. And I just thought to myself, this girl completely said, fuck calling the police, fuck calling authority. They don't do any good. They're not going to find the car, but she's going to find the car.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious and kind of curious to see how this situation is going to play out.
Yeah.
But if I would have been her in that moment, back to our first subject we were talking about, I would have been madder than hell at myself.
Yeah.
If I'm, if I'm going to leave a car like that, open and with the keys just laying there, I'm asking for trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm not, you reap what you sow.
Yeah. Not to dog on her, but it's like, I'd be mad at myself. I'm not going to be mad at the people who actually did it.
Right.
I mean, like, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
That kind of, things to think about, like, going based on fear is like fear of imprisonment. The best way to not go to jail or prison is don't do anything that's going to cause you to get there. Like, don't be going cooking drugs and dealing dope or flipping guns or fucking, pimping hoes. If you are tired of looking over your shoulder, they just change what you're actually doing. Yeah. And it's like Ice-T said, if I knew how much money there was to make legally, I would have stopped doing crime a long time ago.
Yeah. So we look at that word fear, in recovery, what I've learned is that fear can stand for two things. I can either say, fuck everything and run.
Yeah.
Or I can say, face everything and recover.
Or false evidence appearing real.
False evidence appearing real. That's very true too, son.
No. Because like fear, the only thing to fear is fear itself. Because everything in life is manageable. And, if you let that fear consume you, you won't get to experience life to the fullest. Being fearful of starting this podcast and worrying about, it not taking off and this being a waste of all the money we put into the studio. It's not being afraid of not making it. But what are we doing? We're facing those fears and facing them head on and still moving forward. That's why it's false evidence appearing real.
Yeah, we're making video as often as we can, and we're getting it out there to you guys as much as we can. We want some feedback from you guys. What you're thinking about our videos? Are there some topics that you would like us to speak about, think about, and have an episode on? Whatever topics you guys want, what's bothering you, what can we help you guys with in your lives? Because we're just basically telling war stories and picking different topics every day to talk about.
Yeah.
But like I said, if there's something that, you guys want to talk about, let us know, reach out to us. We've gotten into the habit of, for the past several weeks on Saturday mornings, I show up around 9:30 or 10 with donuts, apple fritters.
Apple fritters.
Everything's better with an apple fritter.
Oh my God. It's the best apple fritter I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, these are delicious. They're not exactly the healthiest. I need to go back to avocado bread for breakfast. But, I'm a member of the DEA, the Donut Eaters Anonymous.
Yeah.
My weight has become unmanageable because I'm powerless over donuts.
Yeah, I'm part of the FBI and the female breast inspectors. Yeah. Little joke for you guys. It's sundress season, man.
It is. It's sundress.
Yeah.
It is. It's June now, so
Lust is another character defect though.
Yeah, lust. I mean, most of us guys like to look at some skin. That's just the way that it is. You're not normal. I don't think you're normal if you don't.
Yeah, I mean that's just the primitive, wiring that we have.
That's human nature, man.
Yeah.
I mean, human nature.
We're just animals.
We're just animals.
Yeah.
We're all just animals.
And humans do.
Mm-hmm. So back to the character defects. So being honest, right?
Yeah.
There's times, I swear, I would climb a tree and tell a lie, rather than just stand on the ground and tell the truth. We have to live an honest program, which means, I went to the store the other day and I used my ATM card. And I was in a mad rush, and I left my debit card in the ATM machine. And I went home after that, didn't do any more shopping that day. And I woke up the next day and I needed my debit card number to buy something online. And my debit card wasn't in my wallet. And I thought, geez. So I backtracked my steps, So I go back to the store, and someone actually turned in my debit card.
Wow, a good Samaritan.
Good Samaritan, right? Now that gives me hope, that we're not the only people, out there that
Yeah.
have consciousness and are able to make the right decision. Years ago, I know this for a fact. Years ago, if I found a debit card, I would be, trying to spend money on it.
Yeah, so that
Spend
would be
somebody else's money,
trying to
right?
get some dope.
Right? I'd steal your dope and then help you look for it.
Yeah, I know.
Same. So, somebody actually turned it in. I got my card back and they didn't spend any money on it. My balance had remained the same. I didn't have to cancel my card, wait for another one to come in the mail. And then with a new card number, you got to go into your phone and all of your apps and everything that you use that card. You got to redo everything. It's just a real pain in the ass, when you lose something like that. But getting it back the next day because somebody else paid it forward,
No,
that gives me hope,
no,
right? Hope in humanity, right? Because there's a lot of times that I swear I've lost my faith in humanity. And then, something like that, a little random act of kindness happens. And that's something else that we can do to get away from the fear, to get away from the pride, to get away from the ego, the selfishness, the self-centeredness. Trust God, clean house, and work with others.
yeah.
So trusting God, that's me praying and asking for God to keep me sober.
Or just a higher power if you guys aren't.
Yeah,
Even the whole God thing.
right. So
A higher power that's not yourself.
clean house. That doesn't mean like when I got here, I took that literally and I detailed my apartment. And then somebody said, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about. So I'm keeping my side of the street clean. That's what they're talking about. If I make a mistake or whatever throughout the course of my day, is that something that needs to be discussed at once immediately with another alcoholic? Or am I okay keeping that in?
Yeah.
So um, just kind of thinking about,
I mean, yeah, that also goes back into what we're talking about is honesty as a character defect. Because it's like back when I was on dope, I would lie straight to your face just to get money from you so I can get some more dope. Like, oh, I need this for an alternator. I need this for a starter for my car. Someone's birthday is coming up. This is a fine artisan we're doing. Just whatever it was, I would social engineer, which was just a fancy way of saying manipulate whatever situation it was for my benefit. And so, I'm not doing that anymore because I'm living an honest, clean, sober life, you know. And like also making amends for those times where you were dishonest to people. Like if I was sitting here saying, I'm not on dope right now, what are you talking about? I'm not high. And if I was high, it's like, hey, I was high in those moments. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm working on an honesty program now, and I want to make amends for all the time that I wasn't honest with you. Like or if you're cheating on someone, just moving forward and saying, okay, this is something I'm not gonna do if it's gonna because you're not gonna go and make amends for things if it's gonna harm the other person. Um, Otherwise, you do make amends with those people. So that's a big thing for recovery is honesty, but also like making amends. It goes back into ego, and for me, I was thinking like, oh, I'm the biggest dope dealer in the fucking world, or I'm the smartest man alive, or I'm better than so and so. Uh, it was when I was on dope, ego always consumed me. And ego is something that can kill you, like just like my dad, his ego and his pride and the selfishness and his fear are killing him, and those defects will kill you. That's why this is such an important topic, is that you really need to have a moral inventory that you actually check daily so that you can live a clean and honest life.
yeah, resentment, that's the number one offender. It kills more of us than anything else. Like I said a little while ago, you get mad at somebody and, I'll show them, I'll go drink or I'll go use or whatever over, something really simple that could have been dealt with in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all about today, is learning new ways to deal with life on life's terms. Because just because we get sober doesn't mean that, really not. I mean, everything changes and nothing changes at the same point in time. Everything in us might be changing, but everything else, your relationships and whatnot, the world is not going to, do a backflip
Yeah.
just because I got sober. The world's going to keep on turning like it always has. And there's always going to be all the issues that we face nowadays, um, like the high prices in gas. I mean, I can't believe I paid $5.99 yesterday for, $5.99 a gallon. Diesel is at $6.99 a gallon. We go to the grocery store. This is a fear of mine, running out of food, because I'm on a fixed income right now, and you go to the grocery store and 2 bags of groceries cost $150, and
Yeah.
you're not eating steak and lobster. This is just basics, and so you know,
Some top ramen.
these are the issues that we face. But if we go about them in a different way, in a different light, in an honest, in an honest look at everything, it's really not that bad. But the things that trigger me, I need to become aware of, and um, remind myself that these are triggers. Write them down. I write a lot of stuff down. There's a lot of mental activity and mental health that goes with writing. And I was trying to, explain to my 10-year-old the other day, you need to be practicing your spelling and your letters and your writing. When I was a kid, they taught us to write in cursive.
Yeah, I remember that.
They don't do that. They don't do that anymore in schools.
I don't think that's crazy. Things have changed so much. For me, I'm only 27. Like I'm not like 21 or anything, but I'm not like fucking 50 years old. So it's like I still am young. And even from when I was like, I went to the same elementary school as your daughter, and they taught me that there, but they don't do it now. And that blows my mind how the world's changing.
Yeah, it really is. But if we stay sober 24 hours at a time,
Yeah.
great things, anything really is possible.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys should see the studio. I mean, we worked hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on the studio, and now it looks great. We're actually getting to use it.
And this used to be my fucking dope den.
Yeah, talk about change.
Yeah. Full circle. It's crazy, but it's also a big thing is progress, not perfection.
Mm-hmm.
One day at a time, 1 second at a time. Speaking of time, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Not this session.
Not the session, next one? Okay. Well, that's going to be it from us guys. Like, subscribe, share, comment, share everything. Please let us know how you're enjoying Sober Souls, what you want to hear from us, what you like, what you don't like. Full 9 yards. Look forward to hearing from you guys and getting to know our viewers.
Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and stay sober.
Stay sober, Sober Souls.